And welcome to this topic introduction on the spiritual aspect, the final of the three aspects. The spiritual aspect is obviously the less tangible of the three. It's the more ethereal. I like to consider the spiritual aspect as the part of our energy field that draws experiences to us for our highest growth, but also intertwines with our connection to self, the deepest part of our true self, and also others and the universe. Kind of that quantum web that we all find ourselves in, where perhaps you've experienced there's been a time where you've thought of someone and they've called, or you're going through a particular theme and that experience just keeps surfacing. You've met people through synchronicity and things like this. And I believe that's the domain of the spiritual aspect. So to me, as you know, I follow a bit of a 1-1-1 triad type philosophy. I believe there's three key components to the spiritual aspect: connection to self, connection to others, connection to the whole. And that connection to whole can have whatever term resonates with you, whether it's God, source, universe, or just simply more than your own existence. And let's say if you're not of the persuasion of a higher power, maybe just the connection to the totality of existence. I think these three components are really key, because the connection to self is obviously your direct experience of why you're here, of feeling that there's a truth within you that you're uncovering and living. Then there are others in our experience that we interact with. So being able to understand others' experiences and then have compassion and connection with them is vital. But then also understanding our place within existence, that there is so much more than just our direct experience, and feeling connected to that can create a really large sense of support. But at the very least, your connection with self is key, and that's what we're going to focus on throughout this course. So a healthy spiritual aspect, first and foremost, a sense of connection, a sense of purpose, of feeling calm, centered, in harmony and peace. But then also a sense of expansiveness. And that is such a great feeling. And I really feel that being on the path of growth facilitates that, because ultimately that's what it's about, expanding. So once again, in my own life, much experience on this front. Let's say in the last 10 years, I've definitely been on the spiritual path. I've been honoring my spiritual aspect. And then there's been times where I've moved away from that and got caught more in materiality. The times I've been most fulfilled are when I've been honoring that spiritual aspect. The times where I've felt the most empty is, you guessed it, when I've been moving away from it. And it's interesting because there's been times where I've had more money than I would need for a year. I've been overseas and chilling. I was working out and probably at my peak physically. All of the metrics that you would align with what society says would make us happy. And I felt the closest to not wanting to be here that I had, so empty. Then on the other hand, there's been times where I've felt deeply connected with my purpose and not needed money at all, because I was so fulfilled in what I was doing, and especially for me, helping others and creating something from my experience and the wisdom that's come from that lived experience really feels deeply profound for me. So in the final week of this course, we're going to be looking at what's important to you, how we can get you more into the heart space, how we can cultivate your connection with self, because ultimately that's where everything comes from, and then seeing what your path ahead might look like. Now, while the physical and the mental aren't necessarily prerequisites of enhancing your spiritual aspect, it does help to have an abundance of energy, to have clarity of mind. And when you can have that body-mind alignment, you can really come into the heart a lot easier. But it should be said that even if your physical and mental aspects aren't at the peak that they absolutely could be, you can still honor your spiritual aspect and cultivate a fulfilling life. And often the spiritual aspect has far-reaching effects on both the physical and the mental. And I do look forward to jumping into that in the final week. But for now, that's nearly wrapped up our first week of awareness. I will see you tomorrow for one more content drop, which will be a reflection on the week that's been. I hope you feel excited to explore the physical aspect next week, and I'll see you tomorrow.